Hey, welcome back to the Off-Grid channel. Today we're going to revisit a project I sort of failed on quite some time ago now. I wanted to increase the Bluetooth range of a Bluetooth card. The reason I want to do this is I love listening to audiobooks, and I've got various Bluetooth headsets that I wear quite often that I've modded up and fiddled with and messed about with. And I'd like to not have to have anything on me, and so that I could be in the middle of a field, for example, listening to my audiobook, having full control, because these things do have full control over what you're listening to. You can play, pause, start and so on. But I find it very difficult if I've got, say, my phone in my pocket. I often get it muddy and various other things. So I'd like to be able to listen to audiobooks and music from a long distance without having to have anything else on me. Say it's bulk as well. I don't want things in my pockets. It's just uncomfortable if you're kneeling down doing different bits and pieces. For this project you will need copper wire, coaxial cable, various soldering pieces, a piece of card or metal or plastic cut to 31.5mm, a pair of pliers, a pair of wire cutters, and a Bluetooth card. So I'm going to use the original card from the original experiment, and that way we can keep continuity if I can resolder a wire to the board, because when the original antenna got snapped off, it took a lot of the actual onboard bits and pieces with it. If I can fix it and get it working, then we'll work with that. If not, I'll buy another one. It cost 99p. It wasn't, I didn't break the bank. But again, that's a reason why I chose a 99p one. I didn't want a very expensive one, so that sort of is against the way I do my things. I want cheap things that I can make better or that work really well in the first place. So I'm going to attempt now to solder on the wire, which is where we can then solder on our antenna. So let's see if I can do that bit first. When I first did this project, I didn't know very much about different antennas and frequencies and so on, but like with everything, I give it a go, see how I get on, and if I can't do it, I go off, research properly and find out how badly I did. This here was where around here was where I'd originally connected my antenna that I made, and it would have worked perfectly had I known that there are two resistors somewhere, which I've got to figure out which ones they are, which trick any sort of system like this into believing that this little bit here is a true bipole antenna. So I need to take the two resistors out of the circuit, and then I need to connect one portion of it, the antenna, to this part here, and then another piece to the negative, which is either I can connect it to, can we see that? No. We can connect it to here, which is the negative on a USB. I'll show you a pin out diagram in a minute. Or I can connect it to the case. So to recap then, what we need to do, we need to scrape a bit more of this off, get a nice blob of solder connected there. I might scrape all this off and try and create, maybe super glue a tiny piece of copper wire to this bit here, and then I will connect part of my antenna to this and part to the negative, which is this or this, and then that's what I'm going to do first. If that doesn't work as well as hope, I'll have to look into the surface mount resistors and figure out which one, well, which two, it's often a pair, are putting a resistance on the actual antenna. So I'll start off by scratching this surface off a little bit more as best I can, and then we'll super glue a piece of copper wire onto that, just to give us a little bit longer, because where I'd soldered before it ripped straight off. I'm going to use my little homemade knife for this to see if I can scrape it away comfortably and safely. I'm wondering if that goes through to the bottom. Let me have a look a sec. underside. What I might end up having to do is make a whole pad for it to sit on. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to do this bit off screen, off camera. Oh. I have to do this bit off camera. I am going to have to just scratch down this bit and get that taken back a bit. Okay, so obviously if you hadn't messed your first Bluetooth card up, you wouldn't be having to do this, but I've managed to find a small piece of copper that's not connected to anything else at all. So I'm going to connect this to that piece of copper, and that will give us a bigger area to work from. After a little bit more checking, I found that actually this pad here actually goes to ground, which I should have assumed really, but what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to very, very delicately solder a piece of wire onto this and then super glue it down to the actual base and see if that works. I'm not holding out much hope. This is certainly going to be a test of my soldering powers. Just quickly have a look to see if there's any more. No, we better not. Okay. If I mess this up completely, I will just have to get another card, but you know, it cost me 99p. I'm trying not to ruin it, but it's the tiniest bit on there. Now it's a case of tinning this. Okay, so there's our piece. Now it's a case of fingers crossed. Right. Now let's check this to see if it has. To be honest, I don't know if it has, but I've got to just hope that that's on properly. It's connected to something. Let's see if it's connected to ground as well. If it's connected to the ground as well, then it won't work. Damn it. We've got some connection to ground. It's got to come off and try again. Okay. Right. Let's try again. Much better. I actually thought I was going to have to give up and buy another one. I hate that. Right. Now, I'm going to do a few tests with this. I'm going to plug it in, see what it can pick up and so on. See if there's still some hope for it, and then I'll be back. Okay, I've tested that, and there is some range on it, and it's working to some degree. So, I want to just super glue, just on the edge, just slightly. Where are we? I just want to super glue on the edge, just slightly, so that it will hold it to the actual board. So when I connect the antenna, it's not just going to rip it straight off. So we only need literally a couple of drops, so let's see if I can do that successfully. Hang on. That's it. That's all we need. Let's leave that to dry for a minute. Okay, so that was a success. That's brilliant. It saves me buying anything else and waiting for it in the post. Okay, so now the next thing is to actually get on with designing, well, making the antenna. This is pretty straightforward. You'll need some copper wire. Thinner will be a little bit better in this project. I have multiple thicknesses of wire, and I actually get these out of just normal cable, ground cable, because you tend to get different thicknesses. So I got very thick and quite thin and so on, and that cost me about £1 for all of that, whereas if I'd bought it on a reel, I'd have only had one size and I would have paid probably a bit more. And then coaxial cable. This stuff you can get off the internet, and this cost me, I think it was about £1 as well, for, I think that's a metre. So this is 10 or 15 antennas here. So, no, it's not an expensive project. In all, we've got 99p for the actual card, and then probably 99p for each of these as well. So you're looking at £3 for the entire project. If it works, it'll be £3 well spent. So let's get on with making the actual antenna. Right, I'll do this one quick. I'll speed this one up so I can show you what it looks like, and then we'll do the next one quite slowly so you can see. Okay, so that's the first one. We need to make 2 of these, so the next one I'll do and talk you through it. Okay, so the one I've done, it's not great. It hopefully will do, but if you have a look, it's not they're not straight enough or anything, but I'm struggling a bit because my wire's all gufuffled and horrible. So I'm trying my best, but as I say, we can but try. So I'll do the next one and talk you through it. So straighten out as best you can on all sides. Take your piece of measuring board, butt it up against straight onto your work surface. Take your pliers as close to it as possible, making sure it's straight, and first bend, full 90-degree bend. There we go. Next one, full 90-degree bend. Now, can you see how badly bent my wire is? So this is where I'll just spend a bit of time fixing it up and trying my best to get it as perfect as possible. Okay. Now, again, butt it up, tight bend, and that's one square sorted. Now, this side, down, check your levels, and bend. Okay, this one's turning out a little bit better. That's a bit better square, can you see? I'll move this just ever so slightly up. Okay, now, again, piece of card in the right place, butt it up, and we'll bend 90 degrees. You don't have to make those noises, but it does help. Back in the gap. Butt it up and 90 degrees. Again, the noises aren't compulsory. Okay, and our last bend. And there we go. There we go. So now we got our 2 bits. I'm going to cut this off down here. I'm going to give this a little bit more. Okay, so now this is the bit that's quite fiddly. We need to solder them together. So what you need to do, you need to get your bits of tape. Not that I said we needed bits of tape. Right, you need bits of tape. You get some tape, you stick one side down best you can. Get another piece, put it through carefully. Try not to deform it and bend it too much. Now, your other one comes through. And again, bit of tape, but you want these bits to line up. And one more. Not quite lining up how I want. Okay, that'll do for a second. I need to move that in slightly like that. But what we're going to do, I'm going to solder the two bits together, and then we'll turn it over and we'll solder all four of the joints together, but we can do that in a second. So let's solder the top bit first. This will take a little while because there's a lot of heat dispersal through the copper wire. In fact, I'm going to turn my soldering iron up a little bit. Okay, that's not the best connection in the world. I will probably come back and do that again in a second. In fact, I'm going to do it again. I've turned my soldering iron to 336 degrees C. Let's see how that works. Much better. So there it is. What we need to do now is just give it a bit of a bend, get it back into some sort of alignment. Now, the next part is to connect our coax. Now if you have a look, I've got about 2 or 3 mil uncovered of the centre core, and then the outer cable about 2 or 3 mils as well. Now this is where it gets a bit interesting. Take our handy helpers, which are quite helpful and quite handy. What we want to do, what I'm going to do first is I want to just tin the tip of that and the outer edge. My soldering iron's up too hot now. That'll do. In fact, I'm going to have to turn it down a minute. Okay, and while the soldering iron's cooling, I'm going to tin each one of these four, each one of the 4 feet on this as well. Those two really want to stick together and be friends, don't they? That'll do. Okay, now, this is where a bit of magic has to happen. Done this once before and it worked perfectly first time, but I know that that was pure fluke. These really don't want to be separated, do they? There we go. Now the idea is if we balance these over the top, and now we want to connect the inner core. Let me move this away and zoom in a bit. I want to connect the top piece to the middle top piece we soldered together to the middle of the coax cable. Ironically enough, I'm going to have to turn my soldering iron up again. Wait until it's heated up a little bit. No, not as well connected as I'd like, so there we go. A little bit more on this side. Okay, now it's a case of taking these pieces, connecting them to that. So I would advise getting some metal tweezers for this bit. If you need to bend them down after they've been heated anyway, like now. Soldering iron still doesn't seem hot enough. Right, let's try that. out. Such a nasty solder job. Wow, that is a nasty job. Okay. Now, please do not judge me on my soldering, because it is horrendous. But normally it's not so bad, but I think I just needed it a little bit hotter. Okay. So there it is, all connected up. I'm going to just go around it and just bend it out where it needs to be bent slightly and just sort it out a little bit, because it's been a little bit deformed in the process. But that in essence is our antenna. Now what we need to do is we need to take our doohickey and figure out where we're going to put it. When I say doohickey, I mean Bluetooth device. I need to decide how I'm going to connect this to this and so on. So I'm going to go away, I'm going to have a think, and hopefully get back to you with a groundbreaking idea. Okay, my idea is I'm going to strip back about 4 or 5 mil of the centre core, which I'm going to be able to connect then to this, the little bit of copper wire I put in. And I'm going to untangle all of the outer cable, and I'm going to hopefully, no, I was going to say I'm going to solder it to that piece there, but I don't think that will work. I'm going to have to do some tests, I think. Okay, so I've had a think, and I've come up with the only thing I can do, which was pretty much what I assumed anyway, and I kept saying, oh, I can't do it. Right. Can we see with just without magnification? Yeah. Now this here is the center core of, well, where our center core of our antenna will be connected. Tiny little pad here is where we'll be connecting the negative of that, which is the outer core, and they are extremely close together, so it's going to be quite difficult to do, but we'll see how good my soldering is these days. I haven't done this in a while. So first I need to prepare the coax. What I need to do is I need to cut off the outer shielding, the outer cable, sorry, and try very hard to keep a small percentage back for myself. I would normally just cut round it and then take it from there, but I really want to keep a long, just one long strip to make it a bit easier for me to connect it. We shall see. I may fail miserably. Right. that's one of my homemade knives, and that one, you can see how to make both of those on my channel. Do you want me, I'll put a link to them around each one now. Okay, making some progress, not much, but some. Okay, there's that bit, and now we're going to cut the, well, I'm going to cut the centre core, well, cut it, I mean open it up so we can access it. This is going to be such a tricky soldering job, I tell you. And if they are connected, if I accidentally do connect them, then we'll cause too much feedback on in the antenna, and it won't work. There'll be no point in doing any of this. So hopefully next job will be to solder them like that and that. So I'm sweating just thinking about it, to be honest. This is not going to be easy. If I connect, oh, I really don't know how to do this. You know it's going to be a problem when you don't know how to do it and you haven't even started it yet. A bit too high. Okay, that might just work. Now let's tin the ends of both of these. I'll be very surprised if I can do this, to be honest. But we'll never know till I try. If I do manage to do this, I'll have to hot glue the whole thing. Right, sorry, I didn't have you in focus then. I've tinned both the ends now. And now it's a case of placing it down and doing one at a time. The first one will be the negative. These boards are extremely sensitive to heat, so I've got to work very, very quickly. I'm sorry if I'm completely in the way. Wow. Continuity test. If this does not beep, then we're happy. If it does beep, not so happy. Oh, it will beep anyway, won't it? No, perfect. Let me just think about this. Yeah, because they are connected, obviously, you flipping div. What a donut. Right, that should be it. Now, I'm going to find a glue gun. Let me zoom out. Oh. I'm going to find a glue gun and do a few blobs of hot glue on the actual antenna and everything. Do you know what? I don't know where my glue gun is. I'm going to super glue it to the board and see how we get on from there. And then I'm going to go put my phone in the shed or somewhere, because it would never have worked. Well, it didn't work in the shed before. Okay, so the first thing I've noticed since plugging it back in after I've put the aerial on is it's installed loads of different software. Before it was just a generic Bluetooth device, that was it. This time it has got all of these different things. I'll show you up here. Well, up there. It's incredible. Also, the connectivity is off the charts. I can walk as far as I want with my phone and I still seem to be connected. Before, it would only just connect when it was in my kitchen. Now I've just walked down the road, still sending and receiving files. I'll figure out a way of actually properly testing it to show the distance it will allow me to connect from. Okay, so I did testing all over my house for the Bluetooth, and the connectivity is amazing around the house. Literally, I can go in any room. There's no... Before, if I was walking downstairs, it would judder out, and then I'd get to a certain point in the kitchen, and I'd get it back in, and so on. There's none of that. Well, there was none of that. And then as I was coming upstairs, all happy and joyful, I pulled it out of the socket, and I knocked the aerial. And I actually think I've broken the solder underneath where the glue gun was, the glue gun glue is. It's not a major issue. It proved that it worked. Now what I need to do is I'm going to order another brand new Bluetooth device, and that way I've got a bit more choice about where I put the antenna and so on, and then I can solder it in a, you know, a lot more of a chunk of it in there. And so I will do another video. It's going to be over a month away because I'll order from China, or even if I don't, they tend to take a long time to get here anyway. But I hope you enjoyed it. It does work. It worked really well while it was set up. So if you want to follow the way I've done it, perfect, it will work. There's a guy called Andrew Mcneil, which I mentioned earlier. I'll put a link to the description, to his thing in the description. He's the one I've learned all of it off. He basically takes a bog roll and makes it connect to the internet, and, you know, downloads whatever. You know, he's just amazing with antennas and all sorts. He's made a pot noodle based antenna and all sorts of other stuff. But I just recently watched one about a automatic extendable one which goes from about that long to over 2.5 foot long, and all of his antennas are amazing and work really, really well. Anyway, thanks for watching. As I say, in about a month or so I should have another video. I might make it a bit different, who knows. I'm making one for a wireless dongle that will be coming out shortly, but I'm going to be making it so that it's got a connector on, so I can try lots of different types of aerials till I find the best one. I will also be making a very special little device in the future which involves wireless signals, and that's definitely something to look out for if you like electronics and various other, you know, antennas and so on. I think you'll enjoy that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.